But let's talk about Adnan Syed, because this is, I mean, everybody's talking about this. I don't know, people who even didn't listen to Serial when it came out. I just re-listened to it because of the update. But here's the story. So Adnan Syed was 17. He was accused and then found guilty of murdering another 17-year-old, his girlfriend, who had recently broken up with him. And there were cultural barriers that didn't allow them to be like open with their relationship. His family, he was Muslim, and his family didn't want him dating her. And I think she was Asian, and her family didn't want her dating or dating at all, not even necessarily the other. So they kept it on the down low, but then she broke up with him. And the theory was that he was so angry, he killed her. He strangled her. And the linchpin to the case was his friend, this guy Jay, came forward and said, Adnan told me he was going to kill her. And then he called me up and said, come outside, take a look at what's in the trunk. And it was her. And she was dead, and he had just strangled her, he claimed to his friend Jay. And then Jay helped him bury her body. And he led police, Jay did, ultimately, to the location of the car where they had, which they had disposed of. She was allegedly strangled in the back of her car. So those are the basic facts against Adnan. And Adnan basically said Jay made the whole thing up. None of that happened, and he did not kill her. And Serial, which is it's like this reporter for the New York Times, put together this fascinating look at it, and she led us down a road where she did acknowledge facts that were bad for Adnan. You know, she didn't sound like she was in the tank for him as she did the reporting, but she didn't cover every fact that was bad for him. And she definitely seemed to want to believe in him. And, you know, as a reporter or even as a lawyer, you can get sucked into the, like, I'm rooting for a certain result as opposed to, I just want to know what's true. Right? Yeah, right. And especially as a prosecutor, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to not get sucked into narrative. You're supposed to get sucked into truth and justice. Mm-hmm. Anywho, now he's been released because Marilyn Mosby, on her way out, this woman's facing her own criminal indictment for taking illegal advantage of the tax laws in connection with COVID. She just got booted out of office by the city of Baltimore, whose murder rate has gone up like 300% every year for the past several years. She's soft on crime. She's one of these DAs who doesn't like to prosecute crime. And in this case, there have been allegations of the fact that Adnan is Muslim, is Pakistani, was used against him. And on her way out of office, she says, we, the prosecutor's office, didn't do right by this guy, and we need to walk away from this case. And so he got out of jail. They have 30 days to say whether they're going to retry him. I don't believe anybody thinks that's going to happen. But what is your take as to people who have steeped themselves professionally in the criminal law for your entire adult lives? Arthur?
When I read over the research packet that your staff so diligently put together, and I say that with all sincerity because it really was very thorough. Here's what stuck out for me in terms of guilt or innocence. If you, Megyn Kelly, got a call today from someone in the world of your good friend Janice Dean and said, we haven't heard from Janice in 2 days. Have you spoken to her, Megyn? I can tell you because this happened to me last week. The first thing I would do is pick up the phone and try to call that person myself. Maybe she's mad at Sean, her husband. Maybe there's an issue, but she'll accept my call. And that's exactly what happened to me. And the individual who they were looking for picked up the phone immediately and said, hey, Art, what's going on? This guy who spoke to this woman every day, gets a call that he hadn't spoken to her in a day and a half or something like that, and they can't find her, and he never, ever dials her number again. And for me, as a prosecutor, that's what I would be driving home more than any Brady violation, more than any story or anything that just does not make sense.
That is a devastating fact, I have to say, Mark. That's what jumped out at me, too, of all the bad facts against him. I mean, it's not quite as bad as Jay saying he showed me the dead body in his car and then I helped bury the body. You know, like that's pretty bad. Yeah. But that's another bad one.
First of all, no one's vouching here for the credibility of Jay. We don't know him. We don't know his motivations. We do know he's human. And Arthur and I know in our business, humans lie. What I do know is that the prosecutors have said that we're not requesting a new trial because he's innocent. So I can't say that the guy is innocent. Prosecutors can't say that. But what it seems like occurred here is he was denied fundamental due process. When you rely upon cell phone tower technology and evidence that somehow wasn't proper, I don't know exactly why it was junk science.
No, I know why. I looked at this. So one of the things, so Jay gets up there, and Jay had changed his stories a couple of times. He changed the location at which he was allegedly shown the dead body, the victim. And first he said it was one location, and then it turned out it was another location. And now he says, look, it happened in front of my grandmother's home, and I just didn't want to get my grandmother involved. And I'd been dealing drugs out of my grandmother's house, and I just didn't want anything to come back on me or her or anything there. That's why I didn't say originally where it happened. Okay, but he also says that he had Adnan's phone that day. Anyway, let me try to boil it down. There was a question about whether Adnan had been at the site where the body was disposed of. And the prosecutors used cell phone records to say, look, you can see Adnan's phone at this site. This site, it's called Leakton or Leaking Park. It sounds like Lincoln Park, but it's not. And they said, you can see his cell phone right by this park, Adnan. So Jay has corroboration. The cell phones of Adnan's cell phone records show he was there. And what they're saying is that if Adnan made an outgoing call from his cell phone from that park, it would be reliable. But that, quote, according to the Times, all experts agree, incoming calls to one's cell phone may not be used as corroborating evidence of the location of the person holding the phone and receiving the call, and that it was allowed at this trial.
So you add that to the fact that there were two, at least, potential other suspects that prosecutors knew about and failed to disclose to the defense. A clear Brady violation, a clear violation of due process. And so why should we care about this guy? Even if he's guilty, why should we care about him? Because any of us, if we're ever accused of anything or someone we love or know is accused of a crime, we must hold prosecutors to following the rules so that this doesn't happen to us. We don't have failures or miscarriages of justice, which apparently occurred in this case. So I applaud the prosecutor. If that's truly what happened, I applaud her for doing the right thing.
If there's a Brady violation, and Brady is the rule that requires you as a prosecutor to turn over all evidence that may be potentially exculpatory, meaning it may suggest the guy didn't do it, to his defense lawyer. And they're saying in this case that wasn't done, that there were two potential other suspects, and the prosecutor had them and knew of them in his files and her files and did not turn them over to the defense. Go ahead, Arthur.
In terms of due process and in terms of echoing what Mark said, and it is a lot of, I just lectured the other night to, a law school class asking about the role of the criminal defense attorney. And a lot of it is to we're making sure that everyone's kind of playing by the rules. And one of the debates that I'm in right now regarding Brady is, although the prosecutor turned the Brady material over to me, they did not disclose it to the grand jurors who indicted my client. And my argument is, no, you have to tell the grand jurors that there's someone else who the police looked at as a potential suspect, and all of the information regarding that. They're saying, the prosecutor's saying, no. We have to just tell you that. We don't have to tell the grand jurors that. And we're in litigation over that. And these little battles that Mark and I do, they overall have an effect on our life and our criminal justice system in the United States of America.
Okay, but let me ask you something on this alleged Brady violation, because I do think that's the best argument for a new trial, right? If the prosecutor had information that there were two other suspects and didn't turn it over to the defense, that's bad. That's pretty clear ethical violation, that exactly of the kind that could get you a new trial. But if you're a prosecutor, and you guys have both been, and you just get some random name called into you and you scribble down the name, Joe Schmo, potentially connected, ? And you send a cop out to go run down Joe Schmo, and you're like, oh, this is bullshit. That wasn't a real tip. Not credible, whatever. Do you have to turn that over?
Why not? Why not? What's the harm? What's the harm here? We sent our guy. You go send your private investigator over.
It's not why not. I get best practices, but could that be the kind of thing?
On that. The way, Megyn, the way you worded it It was very carefully worded. The way you worded it, I would say, no, I don't know that that's a Brady violation. Because when you show up at a scene, there could be, hundreds of potential people who did it. And as you go, you narrow it down. I don't know that you have to keep, sending over, this person's still included as a possibility. I think this was
Mark,
different.
If you're a prosecutor and your phone rings at your desk and it's someone who sounds like they're not high or drunk and says, listen, I don't want to get involved, but I'm telling you, I know who did the murder, or I know who committed the crime, and this is what they're wearing, and this is where they're located. If I'm the prosecutor,
not Megyn's hypothetical.
I'm giving that over.
Not Megyn's hypothetical. It seemed like she was suggesting, and correct me if I'm wrong, you got some names, but there's no real validity to it. It's more like work product. There's not much.
You run it down. You're like, this is not worth our time.
But is that what happened here? I understood.
I don't know.
Viable suspects.
You're 100% right.
Put their hand on it. They said this was a major reason why he was denied.
Well, let me read it to you. Okay. No, I just wanted to get sort of the basic rule established. Like, if there's any name that comes up to you as a prosecutor, do you have an obligation to turn it over? And I think I side with Mark on that one. You do not have any name, any number, anybody saying it could be this person. That's not necessarily a Brady violation if you don't turn that over to the defense as a prosecutor. I think it has to rise to, no, this could be a potential suspect. It doesn't have to be an actual other suspect. So here's what the Times is reporting, per Sarah Koenig, who's the woman who did all the reporting. She said the headline of the state's motion, this is the prosecution's motion to get Adnan out, is that they've developed more evidence about two people who might have been involved in the crime, but whom they say were not properly ruled out as suspects. They don't name these people. They just call them the suspect or the suspects because they say the investigation is ongoing. They might have been involved together or separately. They don't know. Both were known to detectives at the time. The handwritten notes that they found from prosecutors in the prosecution's file, because keep in mind, this is the prosecutors going back and looking at their own old files, a new set within the same office of prosecutors. They found handwritten notes that appear to be written by a prosecutor memorializing two different phone calls from two different people who called the state's attorney's office to give information about the same person. The notes aren't dated, but as a prosecutor telling the story could tell, the calls came in several months apart and before Adnan was tried. The gist of the info from both calls is that a guy the state had more or less overlooked had a motive to kill Hae-Min Lee, the victim, that this person was heard saying he was upset with her and that he would, quote, make her disappear. He would kill her, unquote. In court, the prosecution said the state had looked into this individual and found the info in those notes to be credible, and the suspect had the, quote, motive, opportunity, and means to commit the crime. Whether he did or did not, though, legally speaking, this would be a major breach, and they talk about how this would be a Brady violation. Samantha from Arcadia, California is raving about Genucel's transformative results. She says, I love Genucel plant stem cell therapy. I've used it all over my face, under my eyes, and it cleared up the dry flakiness and even reduced my forehead lines. Someone even asked if I had work done. Nope, just Genucel, thanks. Genucel has sold over 1 million products to women and men across the country. Fine lines, forehead wrinkles, dark spots, sagging jawline, even those annoying bags and puffiness, gone without risky procedures. And with its immediate effects product, you'll get guaranteed results in as little as 12 hours, or you'll get your money back. See the difference for yourself with over 60% off their most popular packages at Genucel.com. But it gets better. Go to Genucel.com/MK now, and they will include the brand new Genucel Hyaluronic Acid Serum as a free gift. Powerful moisturizing effects to brighten your complexion and further reduce the appearance of visible signs of aging. Plus, all orders will get free express shipping. Visit Genucel.com/MK60. That's GENUCEL.com/MK60. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.